Well, good evening, everyone, and happy holidays to all of you. Welcome to a new live episode of He Said, He Said, He Said, a look at the world from a seasoned Black man's perspective, because one perspective just isn't enough. I hope everyone's doing well. Come on in, come on in, come on in, everybody. We have a great show lined up for you all tonight. Let me just say thank you to everybody who have reached out and asked me, who have been following the show for 4 years and saying, Alvin, where's your Christmas tree? I am not putting up a Christmas tree this year because for the first time in like many years, I am not going to be in my house. And so I thought I didn't want to decorate this year, but thank you all for asking that and making me feel good about missing my beautiful Christmas tree. And I did decorate outside. And a neighbor who I like was walking her dog, and she said, "Oh, I see you're putting up your Christmas decorations. Nice." And then she said, "Is that it?" I was like, it was like something that just comes to you and then go over your head. I was like, did she just read me? And I thought, bless her heart. I said, because I know she had well intentions and she really, liked the fact that I put up decorations. So anyway, again, happy holidays to you guys. And before we do anything else tonight, and before the conversation, before the laughter, I want us to take a moment and pause together. Over the past several days, we've been confronted once again with heartbreaking reminders of how fragile life really is. Families and communities are grieving sudden acts of violence, trying to make sense of loss that never should have happened. And all of this is unfolding during a season that is meant to be filled with light, love, and togetherness. Tonight, we extend our deepest condolences and prayers to the families and communities impacted by recent acts of violence, including those connected to a college campus and households now forever changed. We also hold space for those still waiting for answers, healing, and peace. This season reminds us that gratitude is not something we practice only when life is good. It's something we hold on to when life is hard. Gratitude for one another, gratitude for breath, gratitude for the chance to gather, even when the world feels uncertain. And that reflection brings us to our show tonight. As we close out the year, we wanted a conversation that reflects not just achievement, but intention, not just success, but meaning. A conversation about leadership, legacy, and what it truly means to live with purpose. Our guest tonight is someone who embodies all of that. Reggie Van Lee is a global executive and trusted advisor who has spent more than 3 decades leading transformation at the highest levels of business. But beyond the boardroom, Reggie is also a steward of culture, the arts, and mentorship. Someone who understands that real leadership is measured by impact and not position. From corporate strategy to community legacy, from business leadership to cultural stewardship, Reggie represents what it means to lead with depth and intention. Tonight's conversation marks the renaissance of Reggie Van Lee, leadership, legacy, and living with purpose. And we are so honored to have him with us tonight. I'm really honored to have him with us tonight, and you all will feel that when we bring him on. And before I bring on my brother, Bobby, Sean will not be with us tonight, unfortunately, but we do expect him back very soon. So you all can click and say hi to Sean wherever he is. I'm sure he's watching the show. I want to take a moment to acknowledge a message that we received after last week's show on December 12th. A first-time viewer took the time to share how the show made him feel. And I'd like to read a portion of what he wrote. Dr. Ralston Cyril Watts said, stepping into the world of He Said, He Said, He Said live podcast for the first time was like walking through a door of a friend's house and instantly feeling at home. From the jump, there's a powerful sense of belonging. It feels like a judgment-free zone. If you're looking for a podcast that feels warm, validating, and like a genuine part of your community, this is it. Dr. Watts, I want to say thank you. I don't want to get choked up, but I was so humbled by your words. I wanted to share this with our viewers because it is voices like yours that inspire me and Bobby and Sean to do what we do. And so I really do appreciate you taking the time to do that. It really meant a lot. So family, again, welcome all of you to the show tonight. You know, I'm gonna holler at y'all in a few minutes. And you know, like I said, we have a great show and we're gonna close this year the way we want to, with purpose, with gratitude, and with heart. So if you all are ready, let's get on with the chat.
Ho, ho, ho. Hey.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Happy holidays. How you
Happy
doing,
holiday,
man?
Our holiday show.
Our holiday show. Can you believe the year is up? Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Bobby, you're giving cuteness in that hat. You are giving cuteness like.
Well, it's hot, so it's off. So there you have it.
Last week was the bonnet. This week was the Santa hat. Okay.
Exactly. So ready for the holiday show.
Well, let's say hi to some of these folks that are coming in here because because we know we can't do it without them. Monica
Absolutely.
Pleasant, Merry Christmas to you. Let me see. Dion Thomas is here. Diana Thomas.
Diana across the street.
Diana, thank you for being here tonight. Michelle Bowie is here. Maurice Scott is here. Happy holidays to you, Maurice. My magical voice man. Let me see. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Again, we have a great show. Great show. Bobby, how was your week? Real quick, let me ask you, how was your week?
Well, you know, I am ecstatic because as an educator, you know, we work right through pretty much close to. So my winter break actually began at the close of business today. So I am very happy. I'm excited to be on my first Christmas back in my house, you know, after having the renovation and all that done. So I'm excited. Very, very great. I'm tired, but I'm happy to be on break.
Well,
and
I've had a busy week, and but I'm here. I've been excited about this show. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been trying to do this show for 5 years.
Not
exaggerating.
We're interviewing. You've been doing the show for all those years, but
this show with our special guest tonight. But you know, ladies and gentlemen, in our true new fashion, for our chat, we have a topic that we want you to weigh in on, one that is near and dear to our heart right now. And the topic for tonight is "Don't Hijack My Post: Trolls, Pirates, and the Battle for Narrative." So let me start with this, first of all, Bobby. Not every thought needs to be typed, and not every post you see is an invitation to audition for the comment section. So somewhere along the way, social media convinced people that appearing on your timeline means they're entitled to your time, your explanation, and a full debate you never signed up for.
Exactly.
You post something personal, Bobby, thoughtful and mildly observant, and here comes the trolls and the narrative pirates, not responding to what you said, but remixing it, you know, in their own TED Talk world. Okay. And, you know, for us, that's not a disagreement. That's an interruption. That's the digital version of walking into your living room, Bobby, someone moving the couch and then asking why everybody's acting weird. You know, it's like that. So tonight, we're talking about why people hijack conversations that weren't meant for them, and how to decide when to engage, when to disengage, and when to protect your peace, because just because someone has an opinion doesn't mean they get a microphone. So I'm going to turn it over to my brother, because I know you got a lot to say on this topic.
Well, both Alvin and I are very active on social media. So we are not short on offering our perspective around certain things that are important to us and taking stands around certain things. And so with that, you will sometimes get people who feel that, one, they know you because they are connected to you, or something you post pops up on their feed. But there's a level of familiarity that some people take around responding to things that can be off-putting, you know. And I'm thinking to myself, like, my friends wouldn't even respond to me in that way. So, you know, but you know, when we were discussing this as a possibility for the chat, and while I'm speaking about that, I do want to ask Norman, could you put up that prompt that for our viewers? Thank you. I forgot to mention that, you know, because of course we are counting on you guys as with the new format of the chat to chime in with our format, with our prompt there. But you know, I've also learned that, you know, not every call requires a response, and so we have to pick and choose what we're actually going to engage with, because the technology that people are engaging right now really kind of gives them this sense of entitlement to be able to respond to you in a way that, you know, someone who's just kind of casually knowing you or does not know you fully, doesn't understand who you are completely, shouldn't be doing. So, you know, there are times that, you know, people will say things, and as our guest was mentioning to us earlier, sometimes the silence is the response. Like, I'm not, your comment is not even worth my energy at this point.
Right. It's called protecting your peace.
Protecting your peace. Absolutely.
Protecting your peace. And you know, you said the word, you know, feel entitled to write on your post just because it showed up on their feed. Well, you know, I think Facebook, first of all, has distorted people's minds that make them believe that, Bobby, you're really their friend, and you're not. You know what I'm saying? You're not the Facebook friends. It's made up. You know what I'm saying? Right. And people have taken that to a whole other level.
Which they realize when I activate that block. And I will activate a block in a minute.
See, oh, JJ, thank you for joining us. Happy holidays to you, my brother. Thank you for being here tonight. Maurice said facts. Okay. And you know, Bobby, I wanted to share, if Norman could put up that second question that we have for the viewers, and please, again, feel free to weigh in. You know, I recently put up a post. I'm not going to say the person's name. I don't want to say that, but the show is on CNN. And I made a comment that particular show is a conduit for the right wing to come on and spew their hate and their, you know, and yeah, their hate and their lies. That's all I said. That was the totality of that. Before I knew it, I had comments on there on my feed from people saying, first of all, why was I, you know, trying to rat out a girl from Bowie who lives in Bowie or who lives in Bowie? Why was I, you know,
you I know exactly what show you were talking about.
Why was I coming against Black women who are trying to make it in the community, you know, in the workforce? Even asked me, well, what other options does she have? And it was only after all of them, there was only one person who I felt like, I know this person from California, and he asked in a way that made me feel like, let me respond, and in the way that I did. But that post is really what triggered me to say, Bobby, can we talk about this tonight? Because at the end of the day, it's really about protecting our peace. People don't know us, and they, you know, don't know half the people that they get on there and post. But you know, the trolls and the social media pirates, they live. They
activate the block. I'm like, as you said, like you the word that you have used in conversations that we've had is hijack. Like, how do we avoid or prevent or just not allow people to hijack our peace, hijack our energy, our space? And what we've also come to realize is there are opportunities for some people who don't have fulfilled lives to always want to kind of pick at something to try to get something going, to try to aggravate you and to get you engaged that way. And if nothing else has, you know, getting past that 6-0 age, if I've learned nothing else, it's like you pick and choose what you want to engage in. I mean, like, don't forget the bots that hijack the post, said Maurice.
what is the bots? I'm the Russian bot by a Russian.
Those bots.
I want to know, you all might have to educate me because I don't know what a Russian bot is. I was like, did Bobby put on another hat tonight when we came on? I wasn't sure. You don't have a Russian hat, do you?
I do not. And I'm not a bot. I'm an actual bot.
You're not a bot. Robot. Is that short for robot?
It's a tech person. It's technology. It's AI of sorts.
Oh, AI. Okay.
Not A1, not stakes off.
AI. Well, to close, ladies and gentlemen, on this topic, and thank you all some of you for weighing in. Just because someone has an opinion doesn't mean they get a seat at your table. Okay, that is really the closing remarks there. And if you don't know where the delete button is on on your feed, please find it because it is a very useful tool. Troy says,
one of the last comments from Troy was mentioning that there are whole farms of people that their whole job is to just drum up controversy. I agree, to keep it going.
Now see, I'm so naive. I thought someone actually took the time to do it because here's real story. I was at the gym last Saturday after I posted that thing about CNN. One of the individuals on my feed, I don't care if they watch the show or not, but they walked past me, looked at me in my eye, and didn't speak. But then go wherever to their phone or home and send me this, post that says, you shouldn't be so critical of Black women and all this stuff. I was like, damn, you didn't even speak to me when you looked me right in the eye and kept walking at the gym. But sometimes you just have to take the good with the bad and keep moving. And that's what we're going to do right now as we get ready to invite our guests.
We're flipping our hair back.
Let's do that. Bob, it's so good to see you. I'm going to stop playing with you tonight. All right. All right. Are we ready to introduce our
We are more than ready.
Guests?
You said we can do this for a while. So.
Oh my God. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who missed, my introduction earlier, I got a short one here. Tonight, we're joined by a leader whose influence spans global boardrooms and cultural institutions. Reggie Van Lee is an executive partner and managing director at AlixPartners with more than 3 decades advising corporations and boards through transformation. He previously served as Chief Transformation Officer at the Carlyle Group and retired as an Executive Vice President at Booz, Allen & Hamilton. Beyond business, he serves as the chair of the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities and co-founded the Black Theater Coalition. And on a personal note, Reggie has been someone that I have known for nearly 30 years and have admired, and he has lived up to every word, everything, and every part of this interview that we're going to have with him tonight. So without sharing another moment without him, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him to the He Said live stage, Reggie Van Lee.
Wow, what an introduction. If only some of it were true.
At least this one.
Only some of it. No, I'm delighted to be here. I've been waiting 5 years to be invited, so here I am.
Wow.
Reggie, don't make my heart move, make my jacket move. But thank you for being here tonight. I promise you. And ladies and gentlemen, his schedule is tight, but we're gonna get through our questions with him, and I know you all are going to enjoy them. So I'm gonna kick them off, Reggie. First of all, our viewers like to know personal stuff. I ain't gonna give them the personal stuff. Like I said, I've been knowing you for years. I ain't gonna tell them that, but I'm not gonna do that. But Reggie, you have lived and worked at the highest levels of business and culture, as I've said, but it's all started at your home in Houston, Texas. So my question to you is, what do you carry with you from your home in Houston into every room that you enter?
I think I live by 2 things, and I think this is something I've carried with me always. First, I live in joy, and I live in gratitude. I was happy and lucky enough and blessed enough to grow up in a house where there was always joy, there was always energy, but there was always a requirement that you are thankful for what you have. So not just long for that which you don't have and be, vengeful over it, but rather to really have gratitude around what you do. So this is something and sometimes you have to remind yourself to have joy and gratitude, especially in these environments we're in now. but I live in joy and gratitude.
Thank you, Reggie.
Absolutely.
Thank
Now,
you.
continuing on that thread of your upbringing and growing up, am I correct? It's one of 5 children, yes?
I have children, 4 daughters, and then me.
You're the youngest,
I'm the youngest and only boy.
only boy.
Some
So,
people say I was spoiled. I say I was abused.
oh my
Growing
God.
up with 4 older sisters can be a challenge. With my
It can be a
sisters,
challenge, but I'm
sisters
going
are
to guess
wonderful.
that it also impacted you in some extraordinary ways, which leads to my question is, how did that dynamic, your lineup being the only guy, the youngest, and growing up with these 4 sisters, how did it really, or did it impact your sense of confidence, your sense of respect, humility? Like, what was the impact on you as the youngest, only boy growing up with these 4 sisters?
Well, a couple of things. One, I have great respect for women and will always have respect for women and always hold them the highest esteem and treat them in a way that's appropriate for that. I learned that from my mother. I learned that from my grandmother, my aunts, and from my sisters. The other thing is my sisters were amazing people, smart, valedictorians from high school. And so the notion of I had to achieve, I had to step up was always there. I had to carry myself a certain way. I needed to do well in school. I needed to be studious. And that's something that not just my parents, but my sisters put on me. And seeing my sisters achieve, really moved me to want to achieve as well.
So to that also, Reggie, I read, speaking of your parents emphasized education, and you said, and support over pressure. How did that safety net change you, change your approach? How did that? Let me make sure that I'm saying this correctly. How did that safety net change how you approach risk and failures, Reggie?
Well, it's interesting because I know my mother told me, I think I was in the 8th grade or something, when I was working on a project for school. It didn't turn out the way I wished, and I was really disappointed. And my mother said, you should always do your very best and know that you did your very best. But when you know you've done your very best and things don't turn out the way you wish, forgive yourself and move on. And this notion of forgiving yourself when you know you did the best you could is important. And I knew then that no matter what I did, if I didn't achieve what I wanted to, I had a family I could fall back on. I had parents and sisters and friends and church members that really loved me and would really buoy me in those difficult moments. So I lived almost with a sense of abandon because there was no real downside for me. I knew if this didn't work out, something else would work out. And then later in life, I discovered that oftentimes plan B is better than plan A. And so go after plan A. If it doesn't turn out, then I'm excited about what else is going to happen. And as some of you know, and many on this call may know, I had an amazing person to sing for my wedding. And
amazing person, people.
Amazing person. Amazing.
But I must confess that was not plan A. Plan A was a different amazing person. And when that fell through, this miraculous thing happened. So now whenever something doesn't work out for me, I'm looking forward to what really is going to happen, because the universe is going to take care of me.
Well, I'm going to tell you, to pique your interest, if you want to know who that amazing person was, who he hadn't mentioned, just Google his name and his wedding on YouTube, and you'll see who that amazing person was.
Okay, and as a key, she's a boss. Okay,
the boss.
the boss. Okay, she's the boss. Okay. All
right. So Reggie, you talked about the importance of being able to fall back on your family. And at one point you've said you always felt that you could go home.
Exactly.
Tell us about the significance, the importance of holding that space, holding that feeling.
Yeah, and I would tell people, you define home how you define home. Home for me was my sisters and my parents. Home for you could be friends from high school, could be friends from college, could be people from church, could be, the kids you hang out with on the weekends, right? Mm-hmm. But this notion of community and home is really important. And I often talk about of the various things that have upheld me through my life, always having that sense of community and always knowing that I had people in my life who would not judge me incorrectly, who would give me the benefit of the doubt, who would tell me when I'm wrong that I'm wrong, but hold me up when I'm right and still love me for myself is really important. When you have that sort of freedom, you can do anything. You can do anything in life because you know you have something you can fall back on.
And it's important that you emphasize the fact that home is not necessarily the structure.
Exactly.
It's you make home and by whom you surround yourself with. It's not the structure per se.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Well, clearly that grounding shows that has showed up throughout your life, Reggie. And it takes me to my next question, which I can't wait to hear. What's the least known fact about you, Reggie, that you like to share with us?
Which obviously will no longer be the least known fact.
Exactly. I actually feel like my life is an open book, but I think that the probably least known fact about me is something that I had to discover about myself. So many years ago, when I retired from Booz Allen Hamilton after 32 years and took a little hiatus, a 3-year retirement that I failed after 3 years and went back to work. Well, during that time, I worked with a writer to write my story. Now, it's not published. You can't find it anywhere yet other than, in a drawer in my bedroom or something. But I thought it was important. Don't try it. I thought it was important to write down my life. And when this guy was interviewing me, he asked me, growing up as a young, kid in Texas, was I ever bullied in school? And I said, I was never bullied. I was never in fights. I never had any issues like that. Mm-hmm. And he interviewed a bunch of my other friends, high school friends all the way back to elementary school. And one of my dearest friends, I've known since I was 4 years old, said, yes, he was bullied. The kids used to knock his books out of his hand, and the other friends would come and pick up my books and take care of me. And I believe it because she said it, but I don't remember it. So I'm able to block out negative things in my life completely. I mean, it's not as though when she said it, I remembered it, but it's also not as though I didn't believe her when she said it. So what I found is my protection net has been, I guess, all my life to block out things that would impede me from moving forward. So I can move ahead with very little trepidation because it's going to work out. It's going to work out some sort of way. I don't have that memory of a bad situation that happened to me.
That's an extraordinary gift.
Yeah.
Reggie, I swear if I had a plate, I'd pass it right now, ladies and gentlemen, because, and I put some money in it, because what you just said has been, I have blocked out things from my childhood that weren't so nice, so that I could do the same thing, so that I wouldn't focus on that and move ahead. And up until just now, I never heard it worded that way. So thank you for that. I received that.
Good. Don't be a prisoner of the past.
Wow. Reggie, without question, the things that you have accomplished, both professionally, personally, in the arts, in the business and so forth, you serve clearly as an inspiration to many. So the question I have for you is, where do you get your inspiration?
I get my inspiration from knowing that I'm making an impact and knowing that something perhaps happened on this earth that would not have happened had it not been for me being here and me doing it. And that's a self-gratification that I get. But it comes back to me. I mean, this notion of you put things out in the world and they come back to you triple fold, both good and bad. I've had people to come to me and say, you don't know me, but I heard you speak at such and such a place 20 years ago and it changed my life. I'm like, wow, it changed your life. I mean, that's sort of amazing to me. So I understand the power of words. I understand the power of engaging with people and connection with people and giving people time and energy. And when it comes back in that positive way, that's what really keeps me going. And there are many days when I feel like I'm wasting my time and wasting my energy. But just in time, somebody comes to me and they let me know that my presence on this earth has made a difference and that I should keep doing what I've done.
And is that something that kind of happened over time? You know, in their early years, was the inspiration that clear? Is that an evolution that allowed you to evolve to this place of understanding, or had you always really kind of been that way?
No, I think in the early years, I so loved and worshiped my parents, and I so wanted them to be proud of me. Yes. And so I did things to make my parents proud of me. And what I found was my parents were just placeholders for the universe. And I want to do things to make the universe proud of me. It started with my parents, but eventually it was a broader set.
That resonates with me personally as well. I understand that. I definitely do. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, of course.
Reggie, you mentioned the individual from your childhood who told you something that happened in your past. are there people from your childhood that you still quietly have that guide your decisions today?
Oh, yes. I mean, I'll brag that I celebrated my 50th high school reunion this year in Houston, Texas. And there were some.
How could that be? 50 years. How could it?
Exactly. I was not a child prodigy. I graduated at the right sort of time. Exactly.
Moisturize, good skin. Yes.
Really, hydration is important. And there were some 150 of my class members, and we had a big event. And so many of these class members are people I've known since I was 4 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old, that I still we see on a somewhat regular basis. As a matter of fact, next week when I head to Houston for Christmas, a bunch of us getting together and doing like a little get together, a mini reunion, even though we just had this 50th class reunion. So knowing that one can hold on to relationships that long is reassuring as well. And knowing that there are some people that you can reach to that really know you and knew you when. They knew you as Reginald. They didn't know you as Reggie Van Lee. And they still can connect with you in that sort of way and keep you real and keep you grounded and help you understand that, which is really important. So when people tell me, oh my God, I don't know anybody from when I was in school before, I didn't like any of those people, I think that's a bit of a tragedy because I know the blessing I've gotten from holding on to good people in my life always.
When you were little, did they call you Reginald? You said that. Were you not Reggie when you were little?
No, my mother did not believe in nicknames and abbreviated names and all of that. So my family generally calls me Reginald. All of my friends all the way through high school called me Reginald. And only when I went to college did they say, do you want to be called Reggie or Reginald? I was like, well, if you put it that way, call me Reggie. I only became Reggie in college. And then a few of my old friends will call me Reggie, but the first instinct is to call me Reginald.
Interesting.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that. Well, one thing we believe is that inspiration leads to purpose. And you have done that, as we've said. So my question for you is, when did you discover your purpose? You did kind of speak about the notion of, leaving the world better than when you came here and so forth. But is that your sole purpose? When did you discover it? And tell us a little bit about that process.
I can credit my father for really punctuating for me what my purpose in life was and has become. When I was one of 2 senior Black partners at Booz Allen Hamilton, and in these rooms where important decisions are made about people's career and their compensation and all of that, I was a kid that talked to my parents every day. From the day I left Texas at 17 to go to college until the day my parents died, I talked to them almost every day.
That's beautiful.
And at some point I would complain about, I'm in this room with all these people that don't look like me, that don't want to do the things I want to do, but I have to go through all this. And though it's a privilege to be in those rooms, it's also quite lonely in those rooms. And sometimes it's no fun being in those rooms. Yep. And my father said something to me I'll never forget. He said, it may be lonely at the top, but it's crowded at the bottom.
Ooh, okay, can you say that one more time?
He said it may be lonely at the top, but it's crowded at the bottom. But he went further to say, so maybe God intended for you to get into that room to get others into the room.
Amen.
So my goal in life is to get into those rooms that some people say I don't belong to be in. Yeah. I not only open the door, but I pull into the room other people who deserve to be in that room. And that's why I sort of stepped out of retirement, because I felt in retirement I didn't have an opportunity to be helpful to other people, to mentor people, to help people in their careers, to help the world, to be to continue to be philanthropic if I had sort of retreated to a life of retirement. So my goal in life is always to achieve those things that others say people like us should not achieve, and then to help others to achieve as well.
Amen. Well, first of all, happy holidays, everybody. If you're just tuning in, if you're just tuning in, we have the incredible Reggie Van Lee with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to get to some of these viewers' comments, and then we can continue our interview. Maurice Scott said, no better way than to end the year with an interview with Reggie Van Lee. Amen, amen, amen. Troy obviously knows about your wedding. He said the wedding of the century. And
amen.
Maurice have commended you on just how you've just touched some of us with your words tonight, clearly. Michelle Sims, welcome to the show tonight, my sister. Thank you for being with us on this windy night in Washington, D.C. And Trinity says, everything Reggie Van Lee has said is true. I was the classmate of one of his older sisters who was the valedictorian of my high school class. My family and his family were close. Dewey Brigham.
Dewey Brigham, yes. And so the person I met at 4 years old that I was telling you about, who helped me understand that I can block out bad things, is Dewey's sister, Delanise Brigham.
There you have it.
Okay. And there you have it. So, Reggie, continuing this conversation on purpose, did your sense of purpose arrive all at once, or did it reveal itself in various stages?
Yeah, it evolved over time. I mean, initially, my purpose in life was to make enough money to really, like most other folks, look after my parents. And I had this vision I saw in a magazine once of this white woman in this beautiful evening gown. And so I was determined I'm going to get my mother into one of those evening gowns. And I got to that goal of being able to be helpful to my parents much sooner than I thought I would. So then I said, what's the next thing? So the next thing was to achieve a certain position in my company. And I got to that sooner than I thought. So what's the next thing? So each time I figured out what additional platform can I get on that will allow me to spread and deepen my impact on the world. And so now it really is this notion of opening doors for others, getting into rooms that the standard folks would say we should not be in, and getting other people in the room. But it didn't start with that. It started with a monetary and a taking care of my parents goal that has just evolved over time.
That's really interesting, and it speaks to the fact that, you know, your upbringing had such a profound impact on who you are. You talked about your parents and their expectations for you and how they inspired you and supported you and affirmed you. Were there other aspects of your upbringing that prepared you to be ready for purpose when it showed up?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a religious person. We were tried and true United Methodists, and that was always important to me. So still, I go to church on a regular basis. I not only sang in my choir at church, I directed the youth choir in church. And then, believe it or not, this is another fact that only my MIT friends know about. I was the director of the MIT gospel choir when I was at MIT.
Who knew MIT had a gospel choir?
Exactly. That's what people say.
All those scientific minds up there and they're singing gospel too?
Well, you know, that was their outlet. So thank God you were there for them, okay?
Exactly.
That was their outlet.
It's like, so part of what has propelled me through life really is this notion of my relationship with the higher being, my relationship with God. And I'm not overly religious. I'm not, crazy. I'm not evangelical. I'm not a fundamentalist. But I do think that having that conversation and have that relationship with the higher being is important to me. And if you will allow me, I often have talked about this before, about what has propelled me through life, or what I call my 4 C's, the letter C. The first C is courage, because the world will constantly tell you what you cannot do. And in some cases, you just have to step out on courage and do that which people told you couldn't do. The example I give, and I won't call her name, I usually call her name, I won't call her name now, but a senior counselor in my high school, when she discovered that I had been accepted to MIT and Harvard and Princeton and Yale, all these Ivy schools, all these great schools and scholarship offers, et cetera, had me pulled out of class to come to her office. And I assume she was calling me there to congratulate me on all these great offers to these great schools. She proceeded to tell me, you may be important for this little school here in Houston, but I'd hate for you to go to Boston and embarrass yourself and waste your parents' money. Why don't you stay here locally where you can compete? And this is a senior counselor. This is a person whose job is to get you into colleges. This is a person who's an adult and who I had some level of respect for. It took courage for me to say, well, I'm going to go on to MIT anyway, in spite of that. And the story I tell is that the first exam that we took at MIT was a physics exam. And MIT is, of course, full of all these people that were number one in their class around the world, right? And in my particular recitation, out of a possible score of 100, class average was 8.
8, not 80, 8.
Not 80, and not 8 out of 10. It was 8 out of 100. Now, First year at MIT was all pass fail. Everything was graded on the curve. I ended up getting a 12. So anything over 10 was passing. The guy next to me, who was the smartest guy in every recitation session, always raising his hand and having the answer, got a 1.5. Right. So as I was taking the test and as I got my score back before I knew what class average was, I could hear this counselor in my head saying, see, you don't belong here. And when I saw that I got that 12 and the genius next to me got a 1.5, I said, I'm glad I took the courage to come here. So each of us have our stories of courage. And there's hardly anybody who's been successful in life that didn't have to exhibit some courageous act. So courage is the first C. The second C is confidence. If you have enough confidence, then you don't need to be courageous. Like you get up in the morning, I know I can brush my teeth. It's not courageous to brush my teeth, right? So the notion of what can I do to build my confidence? And what I do is I surround myself with real people who are there for me. Now, real people there for me does not mean they're a bunch of yes people. Sometimes the answer is no. They need to tell me that. But I know that the confidence is there. And what I often tell my mentees is the world is full of haters. Haters will always exist. My senior counselor was a hater, didn't want me to achieve something that she could not achieve. And what I do is I turn the haters to my advantage. So when I did not want to stay up late studying for tests at MIT, I could hear that counselor in my head, and that's what kept me up. So as much as I wanted to succeed at MIT, I didn't want her to be right in saying that I wouldn't succeed at MIT.
Correct.
So you have both the people that support you with confidence and the haters that encourage you to have confidence. Because one, and my mother told me this, nobody hates on someone who's not doing anything. So if they're hating on you, there's some reason, there's something valuable you're doing that they want to hate on. So the second C is confidence. The third one is competence. And nothing replaces knowing what you're doing. Studying, burning the midnight oil, learning your craft, overachieving. And this notion of we as Black people have to be twice as smart. I say, okay, then I'll be twice as smart. I'll go for it. And if I fall back, maybe only 1.5 as smart, 1.5 times as smart. So that competence you have to get. And then the fourth one, which I talked about before, is community. You really need that community that can uphold you. Because in those tough moments, if you have nothing to fall back on, you can find yourself not wanting to live. And that's a horrible feeling. I've never had it, but I can imagine it's a horrible feeling. So my 4 C's are courage, confidence, competence, and community.
Wrote them down.
Reggie, thank you, thank you. And Reggie, we all know that purpose is powerful, but it also comes with a certain level of pressure. So I want to ask you, how do you deal with the stress or unpleasant situations, especially as a Black man in corporate America?
I go shopping.
See, I'm sorry, I should be laughing, but you know what?
I go shopping.
Speak.
I have the wardrobe to prove it.
Speak.
I have the wardrobe to prove it. No, I mean, I what I do is I find my joy. And so when I was younger, it was about shopping. I was shopping. That was one way for me to deal with the stress and that kind of stuff. And dressing well and feeling good about myself by the way I dress was important. But now, I'm sorry?
I said impeccably.
Well, I try. Dressing well is the best revenge, right? But now I find my joy where I enjoy hanging out with my family. I enjoy reconnecting with great friends. I enjoy theater in New York City and DC and other places. So everybody needs to find their joy. You need to find your joy. And the minute you let your joy go away, you're lost.
Reggie, I got to ask you, I'm sorry, Bobby, do you have a little Reggie? And I mean, because I have a little Alvin. It sounds like you have a little Reggie. And that little Reggie is running rampant, has been running rampant, continues, and you never tell them to sit down. Do you have a little Reggie?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course I do.
Okay. Thank you.
So you kind of alluded to, the thing that I was going to ask you about, and that was really kind of showing up in rooms where you've not necessarily been welcome. And in those rooms, you have not only been in those rooms, you've been one of the leaders in those rooms and dealing with resistance and still been transformational in that. So in those spaces, and you talked about shopping when you're outside of those spaces, how do you stay centered in the midst of the resistance?
One thing that keeps me centered is I have a very wide cloth of people that I interact with. And I'm oftentimes reminded of how blessed I am. I'm oftentimes reminded of the gratitude I should have, right? And I also know that if you don't show gratitude, the universe has a way of taking that thing away from you that you're not really appreciating as you should, right? So that's just, and it's a constant thing. It's a constant thing. And I've gone through times in my life when I didn't understand why things are going that way, and it's unhappy, and why are people so mean, and why are people so nasty, and what did I do? This person doesn't even know me. Why are they against me? And I've learned that's their problem. That's not my problem.
Yeah.
Not to deal with it somehow, but that's their problem. And oftentimes those are people in pain themselves. And so I've learned to have not anger or enmity for them, but some pity to some extent. And that helps me get through it as well. But there are a lot of things that one can do to sort of get through that. But what reassures me is no one comes after a person who's not doing anything. So if somebody's coming after you, you're doing something.
You're doing something. I appreciate that. And I do. And as as someone who knows you well, as well, that there is a mystique of Reggie Van Lee and living well and being successful and all of those things. And I don't think people ever associate the fact that Reggie also has, issues that he's had to deal with, and people who have not been positive in responding to him, and he's had to overcome some of those things. So it's really interesting that, people look at your tremendous successes and how you show up in a room. And I can personally say, as successful as you are, you show up in a room and it's never like, look, ta-da, here I am, kind of like, Reggie comes in and he's just, being Reggie. And that's a tremendous tribute to you as a person, that you don't show up that way, that you would speak up in a restaurant when someone was being rude to a waiter or so forth. So I just want to say we appreciate that response.
Well, thank you. And I know I'm self-deprecating too much, but I tell people that a lot of what I do is because I'm too lazy to do the other thing. I'm too lazy to try to be somebody to you and somebody else to somebody else. And I'm too lazy to figure out what lie did I tell you versus I don't have all that energy. I'm just me. And you either receive me or don't receive me. That's your stuff. But I've just learned it's easier and it doesn't age one as much when you are just fair to people, treat people the way you want them to treat you, and just be yourself. And if you don't attract some people, you didn't need them in your life.
Well, I thank you for it, Reggie. And I'm going to dive a little deeper because even the most successful people experience setbacks. And so share with us, Reggie, what did early professional setbacks teach you about endurance?
It taught me that once I got through it, the next time I have something to go through, I'll probably get through that as well. I mean, going through it is hard. But when we look back on all the things that happened to us that didn't turn out the way we wanted to, and we're still alive, none of it was fatal. So don't treat something as fatal. Don't give too much energy and power and gravitas to something that was temporary. On this notion of suicide, my mother always said suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And too many people treat these temporary problems like they're the end of the world, and they aren't, right? Now, that you learn over time. I couldn't have told you that the first time I had a setback. And I've had, setbacks. I've been lucky. I've never been fired from a job, so I haven't had professional setbacks like that. But I've gotten assessments that were not fair, and that impacted my promotion rate and impacted my salary, my compensation. I've had investments that didn't turn out well. I've had friends to disappoint me who I've loaned money to or been helpful to, and they just turned on me in a horrible way. But guess what? I'm still here.
Still standing.
And
Amen.
some of them aren't here, or certainly aren't here in a good position. So I've learned that what you put out in the universe does come back to you. And so when someone thinks they're taking advantage of me and think they're doing some harm to me, they don't realize the harm they're doing to themselves. Now, I'm fine. I'm still here.
That leads me to my question, of course, in terms of some of those setbacks and so forth. And you've spoken to it to some degree, but it could have easily been situations that harden you as a person. Like what has kept you from becoming hard as a result from some of those setbacks?
Well, one is because I'm not going to let them win. I'm not going to let them take my joy, take my spirit, make me angry. Because angry people are not happy people.
Yeah.
They're not happy.
Yeah.
So this is something else that my parents taught me. So I'm walking down the street. Someone steps on my shoe. and they move on in their life. All day I'm mad about them stepping on a shoe. They've gone on with their life. They don't even realize I exist, right? So whatever I need to do to make me, if I need to chase them and step on their shoe to feel better, whatever, or just let it go, let it go. So I've learned, and this is not to say I've not had issues and unhappy moments and stuff, but they don't last very long because I just won't do that. I mean, I'll give an example. When a certain person became president most recently, that morning, the night before, a bunch of us said, we're going to dinner. We're not get all wrapped up in this political process. And went out to dinner to about 10 or 11, came back in. I didn't turn on the television because, of course, it was going to be several days before we knew who was going to win, right? That was the hypothesis. I woke up at 3 a.m. And those who know me, I only sleep 4 or 5 hours. I woke up at 3 a.m. and looked at my phone, and it was all these messages. Oh my God, the world's come to an end. What are we going to do? So I turned on the television, and this new president is doing the acceptance speech and blah, blah, blah. I listened to the whole thing. I went out on my terrace, and those who know me, I have a very lovely terrace, in my apartment in New York. Screamed at the top of my lungs. Right. And I'm sure somebody called the police because at 3 a.m, someone's screaming. Got it all out. Said, okay, got to move on. They're not going to steal my joy. So my philosophy since that time is I'm defiant, not defeated. And that's what we have to be.
Well, Reggie, you just said a word that's taken me into my final questions with you, because through all of that, one thread that runs through your life that I want to know about is what brings you joy, Reggie?
Simple things bring me joy. A nice meal, a nice theater production, a conversation with a friend, knowing that I did something that was helpful to someone else. Very simple things. And because I've been blessed to do all sorts of fabulous, grandiose sort of things, but what really brings me joy are the very simple pleasures. And those you can always find. And those you discover with time, with age, are the things that really matter the most. I mean, things that you all have said about me, that brings me great joy. And you didn't have to say it, so, and I know you mean it. So to know that I have had that sort of impact and relationship with, and that sort of connection to people like yourselves, that brings me joy. And that doesn't give you any money, but it brings me more joy than money ever could.
Reggie, you have been such an extraordinary patron of the arts with your time, your resources, in so many ways. Tell us a little bit about why Broadway, music, dance, all of that is so essential to the Reggie Van Lee that many of us know.
Well, one, I had a little stint in dancing. I studied dance for a while, and I danced a little bit. And so that was my artistic expression. I also used to paint when I was a young kid. Then in high school, I was in speech and drama and the debate club. So I've always had that sort of performance thing. And what I found is that too many artists don't get what is due them in the world. And so when I discovered that God did not intend for me to be a performer, but intended me to be a patron of the arts and a patron of dance, I found myself, and I found the joy that I get in that. So I enjoy seeing, viewing, visual arts, performing arts, etc., but also participating in nurturing artists, helping people get to that point. All of that brings me great joy. And the arts are transcending and transformational, for me at least.
It's beautiful. And then there has been a space. I've certainly been in the presence when you've walked into a theater or someone and you hear people go like, oh, there's Reggie Van Lee.
He's still alive. Look at him. He's still alive. Oh my God. Where's his walker? He doesn't have his walker.
You turn around going like, where is he? Like what?
Exactly.
So
it's funny because I have to tell you, I don't drink my own bathwater. People getting so impressed, and it lets me know they don't really know me because I'm not that person. I'm just plain old Reggie. But I've accepted that. I actually had a Devil Wears Prada moment when I was at Booz. You know the scene where Miranda Priestley gets on the elevator and the model gets off the elevator. So I was on a call and I was getting on the elevator. There were two guys in the elevator and I had to call on mute, and then in my ears and everything. And one guy said, oh, we'll take the next elevator. I said, no, it's fine. I'm fine. So he said, no. And the guy with him was like, I'm not getting off the elevator. So he yanks the guy out the elevator. And as the door is closing, he says, that's Reggie Van Lee. Like,
Like,
you can't be able to elevate with him. So for the record, anybody listening, I'm not that person.
He's not.
I'm not Miranda Priestley. I try to dress like her, but I'm not Miranda Priestley.
He is not.
I wasn't say anything.
No better words are spoken that are true. Okay. He is about as humble as they come. And I don't mean to talk about you in third party. But
Okay.
Reg, when young leaders look at your journey, what do you hope they understand that resumes don't show?
That a life lived in joy and gratitude, in treating the world the way you want to be treated, in recognizing that there is a plan for you, no matter what you think your plan for you is, and finding a way to embrace that and make the most of it. I mean, capitalize on it, but to not feel like you have to go down a certain path and feel less than when you look at the guy over there that seems to be doing better and the woman over there seems to be doing better. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what it took for them to get there. So, as I said, be yourself because everybody else is taken.
Amen. Amen.
We closed the year, and not just our season of the show this year, but we're coming to the close of 2025. People make a lot of New Year's resolutions and all of those types of things. If you had a wish for something that people would carry into this new year, the next chapter of their lives, what do you hope people will take, given all that we're dealing with right now?
It's what I said: live in joy and gratitude. Find a way to find your joy. And find a way to recognize that for which you should be grateful and be grateful for it.
Yeah,
and the rest will take care of itself.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you all, but I don't want him to go. Okay, but we have reached the end of a 5-year stint of trying and hoping that I could get on your calendar and have you on. He said live. Reggie Van Lee, you touched me over 30 years ago, and you have touched me tonight. This is
that means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
Well, it is true, and you did it all yourself. But thank you so much for coming here tonight. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try something different before we let Reggie go. I'm going to tell you all, Reggie can stay here while I let you all know. Friday, December the 26th, and January 2nd, 2026, we will air previously recorded episodes. We will be on holiday, ladies and gentlemen. I know we just came back, but we got to
finding our joy.
You know, this Christmas just came up. You know, it just came up. But we will be back live again in January on the 9th, and we will have a special guest with us in our Manage Your Health series. Our special guest, Aaron Footman III. He's a licensed clinical professional counselor and the CEO of his company, Bring Out the Joy Counseling Services. He will be with us when we come back in January. And rather than give you the words of the week, ladies and gentlemen, I want to leave this with you because Reggie has inspired me to do so. As we close this holiday show, we're reminded that leadership isn't just about the rooms you're invited into. It's about what you leave behind once you've been there. Tonight, Reggie Van Lee reminded us that purpose is not a moment, it's a practice. That legacy is not a title, it's a responsibility. And that living well means staying grounded in family, in faith, in service, and in joy. In a world obsessed with speed, Reggie models substance. In a culture that rewards noise, he demonstrates impact. And in a season that asks us to reflect, he shows us what it looks like to build a life where success and meaning coexist. This has been more than a conversation, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a masterclass in living with intention. As we head into the holidays and toward a new year, may we all carry a little of this renaissance with us all. And if we could bring Reggie and Bobby back to the stage, Norman, if you would do that, I want to just say good night to everybody. If we could do that. There they are. Oh, there they are. Poof. Okay. No, again, thank you all for being here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Reggie, thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Happy holidays to you, Bobby. Happy holidays to you.
Same
You
to
know,
you.
and if I don't see you before I leave, I'll see you in the new year.
Absolutely.
I will.
We want to thank all of our listeners who've tuned. Miss Tony, I see that you're tuning in. Patrice Williams, she's tuned in. We want to say hey to Miss Tony and others who've tuned in tonight. We thank
My friend Simone Williams. I saw her on there.
Oh, wait a minute. Simone,
I was just with her. I was just with her in Miami.
There you go. And here she is. There she is.
Yeah, there she is. Okay. Hi, Simone. Thank you for being here. And while I have all of you here, please, if you want to see all of our episodes, especially this one, go to our YouTube page at He Said Live on YouTube and subscribe to our page. Tell a friend, come in here and sit with us this evening. And I saw Dr. Watts on here, who sent that beautiful message last week.
Yes, I want to say thank you as well. That was beautiful.
Thank you. And did I say hi to Michelle Sims? Did I say hi? And Johnny Ross, look at all you people coming on here. Thank you all for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Maurice.
We love you.
Thank you, Maurice.
Everybody, thank you.
Have a good holiday, and we will see you on the next live episode of He Said.
Come on, Reggie.
He said.
Come on.
Right. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You guys have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us. And
happy holidays. Okay? Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye now.
Here we are again.